Hi everyone, welcome back to the classroom here at the Jansen Art Studio. This is the classroom where we do a lot of our online and live broadcasts that you can find on all that information down below in the description, all the link to it. But if you go to our channel, you can watch live classes sometimes with us where we can chat back and forth and you can ask some questions as we paint. Today what I want to do is I want to paint you another quick composition. I'm a real big fanatic for quick compositions because I think this is what made me more of an artist. And when you paint a quick composition, I try to do it under 20-30 minutes, something like that. And I want to show you some of the things that I'm going to do, that I do. Now, I have an entire set of books. This is just the beginning of it. I have over 40 books that I've written. And what this is this quick composition theory and technique. This book here, and the links are down below for you. This book just shows you some of the products I use, some color theory that I use, some drawing, some different things, how to turn flowers different ways. But it goes into techniques for flowers and for scrolls and for painting landscapes back here, landscapes, seascapes, all different kinds of things, techniques that I use for doing quick compositions, smaller paintings, quick paintings. Then I also have one here, like if those of you that like scrolls and flowers that I do, you'll find this one has all kinds of lessons in it. Each one has 10 or 11 different lessons and how I pull the scrolls and colors and brush mix up colors using limited palettes and everything. This book does. And this one's on roses, quick compositions, painting roses, if you want to see how I go about painting different types of roses. So you'll take a look at a lesson like this, and then what I'll do is I'll walk you through step by step. Each one has 30 to 40 step photos there, step by step, on how I go about creating those particular roses and that particular colors. And then one here also on landscapes, because I also do quick landscapes, and this one has like 5 paintings in it. And again, it goes step by step how I, like on this one here, how I create the waterfall, the mountains below, and how you create different types of water illusions and the illusions of water and stuff like that. So all of those are available for you on the links down below, and you can order there. You can order also on the link that you find to our online store. Now, what I also do here is I'm going to be using the Heritage Multimedia acrylics today. This is all, and this is the extender that I use with it. These are also available in the links down below, and they're on Amazon, so check those all out. What I do is I take that Heritage Multimedia and I usually mix it up in a little container like this, and I add the extender into the paint. I mix it up and leave it open for a couple of days for it to thicken back up again, because it's pretty thick paint here, and I like to use it at that consistency. All that information is in the links below for you. Okay. Now I have a board here. This is just a regular MDF board, and I just tossed on a little color on it. It's just it's still a little bit wet. This is just some blue and black and white and a little bit of my yellow off the palette. And I'm just going to refresh that and get going here with painting you a quick composition of flowers here. I'm going to take some phthalo blue right from our 6-color set and some white. And sometimes I like to do this color really bright, which I'll leave it just like that, really bright. Then sometimes I like to tone it down. Now, if you're using the 6-color set, to tone that down, a beautiful color is to take just a little red and black down here like this, just a little bit of red and black, and that will warm it and tone it just slightly here, because the red is a little bit warmer, but you see it grays that down. So you can find a nice softer kind of blue gray that you like. I like those particular colors here. Sometimes I model it in and leave it all different kinds of blues and stuff there. So I like blues. So here I'll put a little bit more blue. Maybe we'll make this a little lighter here. We'll go a little different here. We'll go a little lighter then, since I have this background already so blue here. And I do vignetted backgrounds. You'll see in all of the little videos that I put out here for you guys, and I like the vignetted backgrounds. I go more into the vignetting and the rules behind the vignetting in some of our more educational DVDs, but these are just fun painting DVDs. I try to teach you guys, as much as I can in just a short video that we do here, but just to give you an idea about how I go about doing things. So I put this on and I crisscross and do some different things there. I like a little bit of sometimes I'll vignette it quite heavily with color. Like, for example, on this one, let me show you this one. On this one right here, I've vignetted the colors quite differently here. It gives a different look, a very contemporary look. Sometimes I use a soft vignetting when I'm doing colors, and I do all kinds of things. I usually do, when I'm painting like this, I will usually do 5 or 6 of these little paintings a day. So you can do very like. Now this is pine green. If you have the 6 color set, if you want to make a green, a really nice green, just take a yellow here and take some black, which yellow and black is your oldest way of making an olive green. See the olive green that you get for it? But if you add a little bit of blue to it, you'll get right back over here to towards a pine green, just a touch more blue to that, and you'll get right back up over to this pine green. Or you can shortcut it and just grab some pine green. So they both work, okay? And if I take, again, some of that red and that black, if you're using the 6 color set, which I do a lot of painting with the 6 color set, you can see I can tone that down pretty good there. And let's just push in some, right into some of that nice wet blue. Let's just push in some of this color here, some of these greens. I like this type of movement. I sell a lot of paintings every year, and I sell them all around the world, to collectors all around the world. And one of the things that sells, one of the greatest things, is when I do really powerful vignetted and backgrounds that have all kinds of movement to them. They just sell so well, and for me, and you know, it's kind of a very good artistic and contemporary look, and impressionistic look, but I love it. I'll just come in through here and I'll drag that down. I'm a big believer in painting quick techniques like this, just because this, if you're a production, or if you want to get into producing art and selling art, this is a great way for you to test out some colors and some color schemes and see what works. You know, what is really going to work. And you know, there's types of paintings that I do where I do a lot of this pull down like this, and I've tested those types of looks, and they sell very well. So maybe we'll pull down like this, take a little bit of blue and pull down like this. It gives a different look to it, and that's what you're trying to do as an artist. I'm always looking for different types of looks there, and that will create a wonderful kind of backdrop here for my flowers that I'm going to be putting on here. So let's come in. Let's do a light kind of peachy type flower today. When you're using the Heritage, you're using a high quality acrylic here. And I'm just going to get rid of this black right here. I don't want that. But the colors can intermix really easy. Like I can just toss this right here. You can see I can leave it bright red. I can toss it over here and get a real soft, dusty rose color here as it's mixing up with the greens. If I want more of a really nice peach color, which I want to do today, I'll take the red out of the 6 color set. I'll take the red violet here out of the 6 color set, which I really like, and a touch of yellow. If I want to make this more peach color, I'm going to head to it's basically a flesh type of color, and that's always any red, yellow, white combination. But by having a little bit of the green in it and stuff, it tones it down. So here comes a real nice soft peach color. If I want it even more peach color, I add a little bit more yellow to that. So I can, let's just put a big old dollop of that up there and just touch into that. So you see you get really nice color mixing here. And let's just push in this real nice soft peach color there into where that rose is going to go. And I'll be starting to add lots of paint. Let's model in some more yellows. I like the colors to model and soften. But you can see I can cover up this peach, cover up that green I put in there right now. Really nice. Works really well. Maybe a bit more red, maybe a bit more red violet here onto the low side. This is what I look for into flowers, is that I create all kinds of different colors and stuff coming into flowers. And I like them to model in different things. And let's put one, since we have this green climbing up here, let's put a casual little flower up there. And let's drop one right down through here. Setup that when I paint a lot of quick compositions, I like this type of setup. This is just a small little board, and I'll do all kinds of little setups of flowers and stuff. But Here we'll just do a soft one here. So I grab some of that pull down. Sometimes I'll just streak that color down as well, pulling that down, giving it very much an impressionistic look to that here. Now I'm going to just wipe that brush, and I'll set that aside here for just a moment. And I'm going to grab a larger brush that I was painting with a little bit earlier here. It's my old Fusion brush. And again, these are all available. We're just putting these up on Amazon and stuff, so you can check, depending on when you're watching this video, you can check if they're not up completely there yet. You can always look over to our store and get them. This is an old one, and the older ones, the older they get, I think the better they paint casual flowers sometimes. I'm going to take some red violet right down into here. Let's get right into a little bit of that green. And I want this to be a little bit to the peach side, so I'm going to add just a touch of the yellow, Hansa yellow, which is our 6-color set to that. And then I'm going to set up the center of the flower. This sets the gaze of the rose, which way your rose is going to look. And I'll set that center up like that. Matter of fact, maybe I'll set that center up just a bit more, gaze up just a touch more here. So we'll set that up that way. That's how the rose is going to look, where it's going to look here. So let's take just a bit more red violet. We'll drop that in there. We'll gaze this flower up just a bit. Now I'm using quite a bit of paint. Sometimes the paint starts to get, if you start to get too thick, or if you use too much paint on it, it moves around. And this is where I like about acrylics, because I can go over there and put a hairdryer on it, not dry it, but just kind of tack it up until it gets a little bit sticky, or I go work on something else until that happens. This is why I get a lot of people that say, can you work this type of painting in oils? No. The way in which I paint, especially onto the speed paintings and stuff like this, you can't paint with the oils because you can't take the paint to that tack. So you'll never get this different look that I get to the flowers. You won't be able to get it with an oil. You can come close, but you won't be able to do it. You need to, and it's just going to make you frustrated. You know, I answer all kinds of questions from people all the time that is just like, well, I tried it with this and it doesn't work, and it doesn't. I've been painting for over 40 years, and I've been teaching for 35 years. And I've taught all around the world in all different types of countries, and in all different types of universities and around the world and countries. And you just trust me on it. There's, if you don't use what the instructor is using, you're just out for frustration. You're just going to make yourself a frustrated type of painter because you can't get that same type of look. You can't grab that feeling. And this is what I love about the Heritage and that look. I'm going to soften that back, and I start to use my fingers like this and pushing that back, and I can go in and I can push and get lost edges there. Now when you can tell it's a nice high quality paint, because I can lift that off and I don't get any real muddying or anything like that. I can just lift color off and push it to where I want to push it and do what I want to do with the color. And that's very important. I have to be able to manipulate the color to what I want it to do. And so here I'll just set up the gaze. This will be a little bud coming up this way. And then there's this one here pointing this way. Now, kind of bad. I just set up 2 with the same gaze right there. So I don't always like to do this. So this one I'm going to turn down just a bit more this way. And so the gaze will be slightly different, and maybe give a little darker. Let's give a little more contrast of color. Let's get a little more red violet right down in here. Nice thick. You can see the nice thick color. Sometimes I paint colors really thin. Sometimes I do it like this, where I paint colors really, really thick, and that gives you a nice richness to the colors. I was listening one time to another artist teach, and a beautiful painter. And he said that, one of the problems, and this was years ago, this is like 20 years ago, he said one of the problems with a lot of young artists is that they don't use enough color. And that's so very true. I've found that in all of my classes. Young artists don't tend to use enough color. So here I'm going to take that kind of peach color, yellow and red, and some of this, and I'll start to add the white. This will make it even more of a peach color here that I want. Add some of that white right in here. I model these colors together. I don't always mix them up real good. I model them together here. And we'll come in and we'll start the basic bowl of the rose here. And in the books, I talk about a 3-part process, and I've said it in some of the other videos of creating a rose, the 3 circles that we look for in creating the rose. I've been doing that for over 30 years, and that's how I see roses and stuff. So, and I've taught that to all kinds of other teachers that are out doing it now, but the 3 circles of the rose. And so here I have the center circle is one, the bowl is another, and then the reaching petals, these petals that'll come out this way, or another. And I just casually, when I start my painting like this, I'm just casually looking to that. These are reaching petals out here. Casually adding my color and looking at my color out here for those petals, those areas here, and I'm just striking heavy color like this. Sometimes I pull in, sometimes I pull out. What I paint for more than anything else, and I tell this to a lot of my students always, is movement. I'm going to disappear that edge of that flower a little bit more. Disappear that back. You can see that the heritage here, it's not like a lot of your other acrylics. It doesn't dry. I have it mixed up with the extender, and it just stays wet for as long as I want to work with it. I'm going to move up, let that tack just a bit, and move up here to this one, and we'll set this little rosebud. Rosebuds are more of an oval shape, so we'll set this little oval shape right up here to this one. Maybe give it a few little petals there, like it's beginning to open up, but it's got to be a bit more oval, and we'll let it get a touch lost there as well, just by running my finger through it. And I use these quick compositions here to try different gazes, different roses, different techniques, and I'm just picking up a lot of paint now and just kind of building up the center of that petal a bit more. I don't want to get too much lighter than this one right here. This one's got to be the control one, so getting kind of ahead of myself here. But I can lift off color, and as long as I'm always moving my brush, this fusion brush is perfect for this. As long as I'm always moving my brush into the general shape and flow of the flower, everything I do is going to work. So I'm constantly following the 3 circles and the shape of that flower, and I know everything is going to work because it is. I'm using this brush that is so soft, and see, this gives. Look, I want to add this other little tone in there. Look, I could just add that tone in there, refine that look. Let's grab a little more white. And let's just lay that on just nice. And I just barely touch the surface with that fusion brush, and it doesn't blend or dig a hole or anything like that into that wet acrylic like some brushes do. It just, sets it on there so nice. And that's very important. Let's refine that center just a bit more. The center, I find, is what really gives the visual shape to the rose. So you really need to have that center defined in there. So we'll put that in there. Let's come down here to the bottom side of this one. Here, like that. Set that in. Let's just put a few little movements here into the rose there, onto the back side of it. We'll build up the front of this rose a touch more. Okay. Sometimes I will add accenting tones in here, like here's an orangey type of color. Let's get some of that in there. Let's get some of that into this one as well. The other tones, just blasting in, and I try this. This is what I use quick compositions for. Blasting in some of these other colors, because that can look fantastic on your flower when you get that done. Now, I'm going to show you something I usually do this quite a bit, is I'll come back. I'm going to come back with my light color one more time here, and I'm going to push some of this light right into my painting like this, and I'll soften it out and get a little bit different blue here, but I'm going to brighten or liven up this light side of the painting here just a bit more. And I like that. Sometimes I'll do this and just drop right through. So when I first started painting like this, and of course I use all different kinds of techniques, but I like to get colors moving through, and I'll paint in and out of an object several times. I don't. This is what gives me, like, look at this beautiful lost edge you get over to that rose on that side. But I can use the brush like this, and I can paint up close to it like this, and bring that rose farther forward. I control that here. I'll just push those colors together like that. I control that, what that rose is going to do on that particular side, and I like that. Sometimes I streak light in, like we'll put some streaking in like this right onto the corners, really vignette it in like that, and you know, I like some of those streaks coming back like that. It just adds you know, movement interest into your painting. So we'll drop that in, just a touch of that into there like that. You can see, you know, soften that into that flower there, and it looks quite a bit different. Sometimes I'll carry that through, like I'll carry a line of that through, a bit of that color coming through, leaving it mottled like that, leaving this one mottled down like that with some of that light coming through. It looks wonderful. I like that. Very impressionistic. Sometimes I use the palette knife like this too. I'll use, this is a Liquitex number 5 palette knife, angle one, and I like this look where I don't have the brush streaking quite as much, but I'll use this into it and really create a mottled background as well. And I try all different kinds of stuff, but if you notice, I'm moving. I'm constantly moving here and painting and moving. That's what I want to be doing, is painting and moving, and you know, don't play too long. You want to move, move, move. So now let's go in and really paint up that rose there. So I got that nice backside that I want to have there. I'm going to take this and lighten this up to the peach color that I really want this rose to be. And I'll I'll use just the light color here and kind of draw my petals. This is one technique that I use in my book, Mastering Roses and Painting Petal Edges. And I'll push the light right into the edge of this brush, right like this, and I'll use that to define the petal edge of the rose here. And it's just one of the many techniques that I use. So sometimes I use it, and then I pull that color down here. I want to keep that blast of color in there as well. And we'll pick up a corner of it to help us draw anything if we want to have more of an edge of a rose that draws around into the corner like this. So I'll draw that around. So sometimes I use it on the chisel, sometimes I use it on the corner here. Okay, and then I'll use it more flat across the brush here as I come down into the front of the rose here and build the front of the rose up a bit more here. Pull down. I'm thinking, as I'm pulling down like this, I'm thinking finding that bottom bowl of the rose here. And sometimes you can reset that bowl, just kind of lift up through it like that, just reset that bowl. But that's what I'm looking for, is that bottom set of the rose. Sometimes I'll take this lighter peach color and I'll just come back in. Yeah, I'll paint this several times. Come back in. Let's reset that again. Let's close that up a bit. Let's push this back. There we go. And I like the centers of the roses to have a lot of visual movement. And so sometimes I will do this 3 or 4 times, each time in a little different area. And the most important thing that you do as a rose painter is to create the movement of the petals. You don't always need to make absolutely perfect petals, but you need this movement. And we'll soften this back here like that. Let's come out and put some reaching petals. That's another site that really makes the edge of the rose. So I'll pull across, and then I'll want to create the movement in and out of those petals like that to create the rose itself. So I'll pull the edge of the petal like this, and then I'm going to move in and out here to set the movement. So you need that subtle little movement there. I'll pick up some more light. Let's come across the front of the rose here and wipe my brush for a second and then push the movement in and out like that. And that's what I paint for more than anything else, is this nice movement to the flower as I build the rose. Sometimes I'll come back, I'll grab like a little peachy color here, and I'll restate my shadow back in there again if I feel like I've taken some of it out a little too far, that I won't be able to develop further shadows. So, and I'm going to darken this down on this side just a touch, but let's use just a little bit of white and give just a little indication here. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Doesn't take very much. The Heritage White is very opaque, so it doesn't take very much to paint something. So we'll use just a bit here to kind of set up those petals there. Give a little idea or a little indication of some petals back here. You know, just like there's a soft little shape of them back there. And we'll build this up a little bit more here onto this side. We'll paint this movement down into the bowl. This is this movement that we want to capture into the rose here. You see this swinging kind of arch movement. At some point you can have some petals that lift out like this, and we can wipe our brush and then just lift out a little bit of that color here. Or you can paint them more, and this would be more of what I call a reaching petal. This would be more of what I call a bowl petal because it's sitting in line with the bowl there. All these techniques, I'm going kind of fast, I know for some of you, but all these kind of techniques I do in other videos that are slower. These are just we like to paint YouTube as I like to do as much teaching as I can, but also demonstration videos for you, just to show you if this is something that you might want to learn how to paint. And then our other educational videos, we go into a little bit more. So you can see by wiping the brush, and I can lift out some colors again and reveal some of those other tones and shadows, so I can get a different look to my rose there. And I want to put the light color coming back here a bit more. Maybe a stroke or two heavier right there. Here. Maybe giving it a little bit more of an edge there for that petal. You can define another edge if you want and bring those together kind of soft. So if I stroke it a couple times, it gets soft. If I want more of an edge, I just pick up a corner like this and I draw that around. And I can manipulate that until I see it just about as heavy as I want to. And that's the thing about quick compositions, is that, you know, how much do you need to do? Well, you don't know until you paint 100 paintings, really. You know, how much does it take? How much is it going to take to put that rose up on top? Well, you don't always know right away, and that's why quick compositions are great ways to practice different looks and see and train your eye to see what it is that you're actually seeing. Here I'll leave this a little bit heavier white right up to the front like that. And I'm just using thick white. This is why I love this Heritage White like this now. Really thick, light, and just laying on some thick little heavy petals there that I can streak out a little, take some out if I want to. I'm in control of it. It's painting just like an oil paint does. But the nice thing is, if I feel like I start to lose control, or it starts to get a little bit too wet or too heavy and I can't get the control I like to get, I just go over there and tack it with the hairdryer for a minute, and then I have it exactly the way I want. So I like to build a rose like that. Now this one that looked really light isn't quite so light, is it? We can add just a touch more to that one. Let's put an edge out to here onto its petals here. Out to there, so maybe that's one's just beginning to open up here. A little more color, and we'll just soften this out here. So maybe it's just opening up here. We'll give a little bit of indication that this one is just a little younger rose, not quite as open. And then we'll paint this one down here slightly different, not quite as light. And we'll just see a corner of it back behind here. And the nice thing about it is, let me show you something here. Another technique I use a lot. I call it the negative painting. And if I want to change the shape of this, I'll use the shadow color here of this rose. And I can come in and change the front rose and the bottom rose at the same time here. And there's rules, of course, to it, but I like to use those things. And we'll just get a nice casual colors here. I'm looking at the color right now. That's kind of like I like those here. So we'll keep it a little cooler, a little bit more of the red violet into it here as I come through, and put a little more light color into that, but not too much. I don't want to get these colliding. I want this to stay behind this other one, so just a little bit of color there. Now, what is, I said just a little bit ago, that the center, just like when we talk about that one, the center is what really makes the rose, I feel. So I'm going to take some red and red violet here. We'll soften this with a little bit of my green here. And I'll redefine my center here. That's what really makes this rose. We'll let that just kind of fade out like that. Give it a little deeper center here. There we go. Maybe I'll take some of that deep center color here and restate this one again too. I like to do this kind of stuff because it's, you know, I never stop and, you know, I always go back and always hit that center, that other rose again. You know, it's just, you know, this is, especially this is my center of interest rose. So this is the one that I want to make sure that all my colors are good on, you know, and so I'll come back and hit against that one several times, making sure it's exactly the way I like it. Maybe put a little more peach color right down in there. Here, into that one. Here like that. Here we go. Get some of that nice loose movement in there. I like that. That paint's nice and thick, and I can manipulate it really easy, and that works pretty well. And we'll come in here and lighten up just a few strokes here to this one to say that this one's going to be back behind this and down a bit. Maybe it has a petal or so coming out here, but it's just lost. I'm just going to paint it very blurry here. There we go. Just movement. And just paint this one for movement. Maybe a bit of a lighter little edge of a petal might have come out here like that. But I'll let some of that green and stuff show through. Just using just little bits. Just hit the edge there and then just let a little bit, let it soften through like that. So you see just a bit of that. And we'll carry this out. Not quite as busy as the top one here, but I want to get some movement in it, because that's what causes that to have some interest there, but not as busy as the front one there. Here we go. There like that. Just little quick strikes of color, but make sure you leave that shadow in there as well. And we'll let this come right around. I'm going to restate that center one more time here. Again, it's for movement. See, I'm painting for the movement here. I'm not painting petals. I'm painting for the movement of the correct movement of the rose. Now we'll take some green. And like I said, this is the pine green, but if you don't have that, remember you take the yellow and they take the black. And then you add some of that blue to it. There. You get the same pine green kind of color here. And let's get a little bit of black with that. Tone that down, a little bit of red into that. And now I'm going to come in and do a little bit of negative painting here to create the contrast for the rose with some negative leaves here. And sometimes I'll soften that green right down, even right with some of the red colors of the flowers, especially as I come here towards the back here. And that can reduce the size of the rose. You see how you can reduce the size of the rose here? Soften this down. If I want to create more contrast, like maybe I want to create a little bit more contrast here, I'll use the edge of this or use these colors a little more direct with less of the red or light pink in it here. Here we'll put on just some ideas, like maybe this is little leaves and stuff moving up and through there. I'll use the edge of this now. Maybe we'll put some ideas of some stems coming down through here like this in a couple different ways. We have our roses coming a couple of different ways here. So I just use the chisel of the brush and I'm painting down just like I do a lot of things, just for movement here. That's all I'm doing. Make some soft greens. Just toss it right up into here. Walk up into your reds. And look at how it grays that down. They're beautiful. And this is one of the champion things that the Heritage does, is because it's an artist mixing acrylic. So you get these beautiful tones through here. And I'll just negative paint that up a bit there. And let's even lighten that up with some of those colors there. And just carry that through, and I'll paint it back and forth a couple times. Like, let's take some of the light blue. Sometimes I do these just real quick, and then sometimes I paint this back and forth like this a couple times, so I get this depth of color or movement here like that. And I like that look as well. It's very painterly. And if I'm doing a commission painting, I usually do this 3 to 4 times back and forth like that, because they're spending big bucks on those paintings, and so I usually will put the depth of color several times. Now sometimes I'll come in and I'll start to do more precise leaf shapes too. Here, let's go just a touch brighter so that they'll get a little more feeling of that leaf. And I'll just take that green and I'll paint that up and around into that leaf shape there. Maybe I'll give it an idea of a stem or something coming out of there like that. Okay, and put a little different green right there. Sometimes I paint it directly into the shape of a leaf. Sometimes I just let the application go like this and just become more casual and head out. Maybe I'll put a little bit more of a shape of a leaf out here like this, like there's that one pulling out there. And maybe this becomes very much casual or loose. I vary it. I look for all different kinds of ways to do things. Here I'll put a little dark and I'll pull out. Maybe take the chisel and drop it in like that. Paint fast. Paint fast. Now, all of these types of techniques that I use are in the books and stuff there for you, and you can see. But it's to try them out and try to find all different kinds of looks. And so I got here. Now, this is very lost right down here. Do I want to lift that flower? And if I want to lift that flower and really, make it come forward, then I can put a real dark color in here and do a negative painting and it'll lift it up. If I want to keep it soft, you have to kind of decide. If I want to keep it soft, I'll go a little bit medium here and a little bit medium color and just do a little negative painting like this, and I start to give the idea of some back movement of some leaves and stuff, and that flower just comes up a little bit. If I darken at all like this, okay, especially if I cool, let's add a little red violet to that. If I cool that, you'll see I'll lift that flower even more. See how that flower just jumped up even more? here. So that's and especially since I put a cool color in there. Those are all different types of techniques of what a warm and what a cool color does. And when I was a decorative painter as opposed to painting into the art field, into the fine art field, we didn't do as much with temperature as I do today. Now I do a lot with temperature, and because temperature is so very important. Now I'm going to take and lighten up, and let's brighten up a little more Hansa yellow into that. Some of my blues and some of my whites. And this is the way I really like to paint. I like to follow that tone right up here, the greens, right up towards my blues. And I like to take that, find that lighter tone, and I'm going to come right in here, and I'm going to put some of that lighter tone right in onto this leaf here. Sometimes I'll pull it out like that, get a nice tone like that. Use the chisel, put in the idea of a nice vein line. Now, if you get it too thick, like I did there, just take a little dark and just chisel it out till you get it to the way you like it there, just like that. But it's real fun just to kind of just paint it, just kind of get in there and just work it quickly and paint it like that, and put in some of those extra little edges there. It's really kind of fun. I do so many of these. But I work really fast like this, and I know it's too fast for some of you, and I'm sorry, but I want to show you this, the speed at which I regularly paint. I'll do other things. There's other instructional videos. I go slower, and we talk about it more. And you can catch me during some of our live classes and stuff, and I'll show you even different ways of doing things. But this is the speed at which I normally paint, is that I work very, very fast. And I'm watching the tones, the colors, and I'm a big advocate of whatever technique I use on my rose. I need to use that look onto a few leaves so that the two go together. It's very important that you get a harmony between your roses and your leaves, because there's so many painters out there that don't have that harmony, and it shows because they use a different technique, because they study leaves one way and then they study roses another way. But if you're an artist, you should be harmonizing your looks, and that's one thing that's very important. So I'll drop those in there like that. That's very pretty. Now, talking about harmony of looks and everything, let's just take some of our rose type color, and let's just put a little bit of that into the leaves. I don't do this very often, but see how that softens some of those leaf colors, and it takes that rose right out into some of that leaf a little bit further out here, and it just gives a nice soft. You're an artist, you always worry about carrying color and doing things like that. I also like to get a nice kind of, I love the burnt sienna color. If you don't have that, you take red, black, and yellow, and I love a good burnt sienna color that comes into some of your stems. Sometimes I'll give like a little chisel edge of that to make it look like a little thorn. And when I first started painting like this, it's really funny. When I first started painting like this, a painting like this would take me all day. Now I try to do them in 30 minutes or so. This one a little longer maybe. I don't know exact time on this one because I played a little bit at the beginning. But you can see that negative painting takes that rose and just drops it in. You could use negative painting into any one of these things, like if you want to define that center a little bit more. Now I have quite a bit of a straight line right here. That's not really very good. Now I can take the eye away from that by taking some more of my negative painting here and popping this out down and pulling the contrast of the painting down like this, and that would detract a little bit from that line of these two coming in together. The other way is to put a crossing one here, or a smaller idea of a leaf that's going to come underneath this one here, something to break that line, or add any kind of line that pulls it this way. Even a few lines like that, see, will help pull the viewer's eye this way as well, down and pull it down. And any kind of light color or anything over here would help pull the viewer's eye this way, detracting from that line just a bit more, which is what I want to do. It's visual rules, and I wish I could take all of you and show you all the visual rules that I do now, and that requires a lot of videos. But I wish I could just like give it to you, because I know the frustration that some of you go through trying to find your way as an artist and find a way that you want to paint something. And you can do it. Anybody can do it. I believe anybody can paint. It's all a bunch of visual rules that we need to follow. But you need to learn some of those, and that's what I try to do. But you can get a painting like this. It's kind of fun. Now, the other thing that you look at is, okay, I've got this painting here, and I've set this up with these roses and everything like this. One of the last things I always look at is the harmony between my background and my flowers themselves. And you know, if this was just a real quick compositional painting, I know I have a mistake in it. I don't always fix it, but you know, if it's a painting that is, you know, for commission, I know what to do. I need to take that blue color. If I want to get a better harmonious painting here, I need to harmonize the flowers to the background. Now you can do that by painting your flowers more transparently, but if that didn't happen, take some of your background. Make sure it doesn't have to be the same color. I just want to take some of that line out there too. But take some of that background color and push that right into your flower itself. And what that does is, you see, it'll take some of that little spark of that background right into your flowers. Now, it has to be light, and the background here is appearing very cool. So this should be on the cool side of our flowers. And I'll push some of that color right into the flower. It doesn't need to be everywhere, but I'll push some of it right into the flower so it incorporates into the flower. You can push some of that into some other areas, into, you know, we can even push some of that light through, but watch what it does. Like just boom, just a little bit of that background color into that rose. You can have a touch of that into your leaves here, and you know, just to lightly take some of that in there. That looks really nice. You can have some of that appear, like we'll pull that right down. This is where I really like, see that pulling down through that we talked about earlier. I started doing this on some paintings this last year, and they went over really big, and I liked it. And of course I liked selling them like that. So, and it just adds quite a bit of visual interest to it. And so I put a few things out and look at a few movements of the brush and colors and tones, and you know, and just kind of breaking the tone up, breaking the color up here, little broken color up like this. Just add some more. But there's all kinds of ways that you can do that, and you know, you're in control, especially if you start to understand some of the techniques and everything for quick compositions, and understand the techniques that acrylic painters use. And that's all it is understanding techniques. That's all we do, is understand those particular techniques. So you know, it's kind of up to you to learn those, you know, and don't get frustrated if you don't understand all of them yet. So I'm going to put up just one last little thing here, kind of a light warm peach color here, just to really make sure I set that one rose here with this one here. And one of the things that, it's one of the techniques that I always, or it's one of the last visual things I always say to a lot of my students, is before you go revisit that center of interest flower one last time. There's probably some place that you can put a little extra highlight on it or whatever, because it should be one of the last, your center of interest flower, your main, you know, the queen of the composition there, should be one of the last things that you also touch, just to make sure that she is right where she needs to be as far as controlling the interest of the painting there. And so a little bit more there, and that puts that one. I don't think I want to touch that one again. I like that real kind of casual look. And maybe if I start putting in too much there, it'll start to go opaque. So it gets to be a time there to stop that. So there you have it. Okay, so there's a quick, not quite, a little bit longer, but it's a fast little painting there of how I approach some of the roses. Just one of the many different techniques of this stuff that we do here on YouTube. If you like these things, drop us a comment or so. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel. Okay, we ask you to do that because the more subscribers you got, the more distribution YouTube gives us, and that helps us out a lot because we like to bring these types of techniques to you. Okay, if you're interested in the heritage stuff, click the links that are there down below, and go take a look at our store because you want to see hundreds and hundreds of paintings and hundreds of DVDs. We have over 400 DVDs and lessons, and I got 40 different books and stuff out there, all different kinds of stuff. Stop by and take a look at it, and always you can click over there and drop us a message. We always love to hear from you, and any kind of comments or something you want to see. If you want to see us do something, because I paint all different kinds of stuff, drop us a line. Tell us what it is you want to see, and we'll see if we can get it filmed up for you. Okay, I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for joining me here on YouTube, and I'll look forward to painting with some of you again a little bit later. Okay, till then, you guys take care. Bye bye.